Hi, this is Mr. Knowles, and this instructional video focuses on solving division problems using a numerical method. It's actually an adapted method of the standard algorithm, which most adults remember from school. So this will look very familiar to adults, and this is how we start teaching our students how to do it that way. I think you'll catch on quickly. Well, the adults anyway, but I think the students will too as soon as they practice. The really important thing is practicing the steps because division is a multi-step process. Let's get started. And if you need the worksheet to go along with this, please let me know. Two teachers wanted to have their classrooms work on a school project together. They have 58 students in all and want to have their students work in groups of 4. How many groups of 4 will there be? On the right is a multiplication menu, and in class we've been practicing using a multiplication menu to help us solve our division problems. So I'm going to go ahead and complete that first. And students should be used to doing this by now. And it doesn't have to be these specific facts. But you will notice it's multiplication facts of 4. And why is that? Because there's 4 students in a group. So the 4 represents how many students in a group, and the 2 represents how many groups. So 4 students in 2 groups is 8 total students. And in class we do talk about what do the numbers represent, because that is important in understanding these problems. So now I already have the division problem set up for my students. You'll see there's a 58 here and a 4 here, and this represents 58. The 58 is getting divided by the 4. In the future, those students will be writing this on their own, but this is preset for them. So now, if I look at my multiplication menu on the right, what I'm trying to do is find which one of those problems is close to 58. I notice that 4 times 12 is 48. 4 times 15 is too big, it's 60. So I'm going to use the 4 times 12. So what I'm going to do is put a 12 above here, and that's where my answer is going to go to the division problem. And I know that 4 times 12 is 48. Looking at the right, it's already been done for me. I already have that, so I don't have to think about that. And I'm going to write that underneath the 58. And now I'm going to subtract 58 minus 48. Well, 8 minus 8 is 0, and 5 minus 4 is 1. Now I'm going to look at that 10, and I'm going to ask myself how many 4's can go into 10. If I look at my multiplication menu, I see 4 times 2. I see that right here. Oops. I see that right here. So I'm going to use that 4 times 2. I'm going to put the 2 here. 4 times 2, I know is 8. And I'm going to subtract, just like I did before. And I get a remainder of 2. Well, I know that 2 is less than 4, so I can't put any more 4's into that remainder down there. So that's what's left over. We're going to call that our remainder. Up above, I have a 2 and a 12. I just need to add those together, and that will be my answer. So if I put these together, I get 14. And if I bring this 2 up, I'm going to call that R2. It's 14, remainder 2. So that's the answer to my division problem, but is that the answer to my question up above? The question up above says, how many groups of 4 will there be? There's going to be 14 groups of 4. So I'm going to write that. There will be 14 groups of 4. I'll put a comma here. And I'm going to add a little extra to it. One group of 2. There'll be one group of 2 students. One group of 2 students. I want my students to be able to answer these in a complete sentence if they can. Let's try another one. Mrs. Larson has 50 little erasers. She wants to divide the erasers evenly among the 3 students in her reading group. How many erasers will each student get? All right, so there's 3 students. I'm going to do the multiplication menu for 3. So the 3 represents how many students, and the 2 represents how many erasers each student would get. So 3 students, and if they each got 2 erasers, that'd be a total of 6 erasers. That's what those numbers represent. So 3 students, each getting 3 erasers, would get a total of 9 erasers. 3 students, each getting 5 erasers, is a total of 15 erasers. That's what that means. And we talk about that in class so we understand the problem better. So I'm just going to fill this out. And now I have 50 divided by 3. So now I just have to think of how many 3's go into 50. Well, if I look to the right, I don't have to think very hard because I have my multiplication menu here, and I noticed that 3 times 15 is 45. That's really close to 50. So I'm going to put a 15 up here, and I know 3 times 15 is 45 because it's right over there on the right in the multiplication menu, and I'm going to subtract. Well, I need to borrow from the 5, make my 0 a 10, and 10 minus 5 is 5. And I have 4 minus 4, that's 0. Now I look at that 5, and how many 3's go into 5? Well, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2, 3 times 2 is 6. That'd be too big. So I'm going to go with 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3. I'm going to subtract. I'm left with 2. 2 is less than 3. So I'm done now. That's my remainder. So now, I just have to put these together. That's 16. And that 2 is a remainder, remainder 2. I've answered the division problem, but did I answer the question? The question is, how many erasers will each student get? Okay. Each student's going to get 16 erasers, and there are 2 left over. So let's write that. Each student will get 16 erasers, and there are 2 left over. Practice writing it in a complete sentence with details and descriptions to let the reader be able to understand it. Last one. Frank had 64 shells that he wanted to share with his 4 friends. If he gave each friend the same number of shells and kept the same number of shells for himself, how many shells did each person get? All right, so there's 4 friends. So I'm going to fill out this multiplication menu. 5 times 2 is 10, 15, 20. Wait a minute. Why am I doing a multiplication menu for 5? I think Mr. Knowles made a mistake. And sometimes he does that. Let's look at this again. Yep, there's 4 friends. So I wonder if I should do a multiplication menu for 4. If he gave each friend the same number of shells and kept the same number of shells for himself, how many shells did each? Oh, there's a total of 5 people. I got you, Mr. Knowles. You did not make a mistake this time. All right, I'm going to keep building this then. 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 60, 75. Oh, that's not 75. I thought it was going to be a 15. I think that's what he wanted. But actually, that's 125. That's a lot. I'm going to write an extra one on my own, though. I'm going to put a 5 times 15 is 75. I might need that. I don't know. Oh, maybe I don't. Do you guys know why? Because of the 64. We don't need anything past 64. So those last two, I really didn't need, did I? All right, so we're gonna figure out this division problem. So I noticed over here, 5 times 12 is 60. 5 times 12 is 60. I'm going to subtract those. I'm left with 4. 4 is less than 5. I already have my remainder. I'm done. How cool is that? So my answer is 12, remainder 4. Don't forget to put those remainders in the answer. So that's the answer to the division problem. Is that the answer to the question? The question, how many shells did each person get? Well, they each got 12 shells. Each person got 12 shells, and there are 4 left over. Maybe he was really nice and he gives them all an extra one and he doesn't get an extra one or something. That's up to you, but that's what I'm looking for. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, please ask.